Hey love, so I wanted to talk to you guys about something that keeps coming up for me this past couple weeks, talking to some of the people that I've been doing readings with and people who I've met in person. And this is specifically speaking on spiritual consent because I've gotten the message to give this message to multiple people in the past couple of weeks and it just keeps coming up. So I do want to address it. And this is going to be an IGTV video just for my people's, just a really quick message for those who need to actually hear this. But what is the purpose and what is the significance of spiritual consent? Well, when we look at the word consent, it means to have an approval of, to be willing to participate in, to consent is to agree to whatever situation is happening. So when we're talking about spiritual consent, which is a very important thing to focus on, is you spiritually giving the okay on a spiritual level to whatever it is that you're trying to work with or call in. This specifically goes hand in hand with spirits and specifically angels. If you work with the archangels in your practice quite regularly, prayer is very important in order for you to communicate with them, because they're a lot of the time, yes, they can just show up for you and take it upon themselves to intervene in something or help you out in something and let you know of their presence with after the fact, before the fact, whatever the case may be. However, I remember recently I've had to tell different people hey, they still want you to consent to them intervening for you. So prayer still needs to be had. You still need to connect. You still need to say, hey, this is what I need. This is what I'm asking for. This is what I'm wishing for. This is what I'm calling in. This is what I'm manifesting. Prayer is the biggest form of spiritual consent when it comes to working with spirits, specifically archangels. When you are praying to them, you are asking them to intervene. Therefore, you are giving spiritual consent for them to come in and do what they need to do to help you and assist you on whatever it is that you need. However, a lot of people just feel like, okay, well, why doesn't this stuff just happen? Why this, why that? It's like, in order for you to understand that you can want something, all that you want, you can think about it, and yes, there's different ways of manifesting. However, when you're working with a specific deity or the archangel specifically, you need to say, hey, hi, I need your help with this. Same when you're looking for a reader. Let's say you want to get a reading, a tarot reading or astrology reading, whatever the case may be. You're not just sitting on your ass kind of looking around okay, well, this is what I want. Where is it at? I don't see it. Why it's not here? Well, did you look for a reader? Did you ask spirit to guide you to a specific reader? Are you specifically actively trying to connect with someone specifically? It's the same thing with spiritual consent, and it works that way too when we're doing readings for other people, because as you are purchasing a service from someone, you are giving consent for them to read your energy, read what's around you, read what's coming, etc. So spiritual consent is very important to understand, because a lot of people don't understand that. Yes, I feel like in the spiritual community, there's a lot of people that make it seem like, oh yeah, look, I just manifested all this and bam, and that's it. However, there's a lot of work that comes into that space, your own space, however protected, however spiritually expanded it is, how many spirits you have with you, etc. It doesn't matter how much of that you have, whether you have a lot of protection or not a lot of protection. Consent is a huge thing in the spiritual community, and people don't talk about it enough, and it just gets oh, do everything with intention. Your intention has to do with spiritual consent at all times. Every time you are calling something in, you are consenting to that thing to come into you, into your space, into your life. I'm doing a money spell. You are consenting for money to come into your life. I'm doing a love spell. You are consenting for this person to come into your life. I'm doing it literally, you can insert it into anything. It's spiritual consent. Anything that has to do on a spiritual, magical level, where you're calling something in or you're asking for the divine to help you, requires spiritual consent. And with that process, as you understand, the spiritual consent is a huge thing. that's definitely paying attention to your spiritual routine. Like take that in part with your spiritual routine, because again, you could do a spell, or you can like light a candle, or you can like do some scripting or whatever the case may be, or you can ask a specific deity or angel or higher power to assist you with something. But you have to understand that what you're doing, you're spiritually consenting to be divinely to have that divine intervention. If they see, for example, that hey, what you're calling in is not, that's not what you need right now, that is not the case, you asked for that entity to assist you, and what they have seen is that that's not meant for you. So you have to also understand that that's part of spiritual consent. You consented for help, but sometimes you might be given other information. It's the same how when people get like readings sometimes and they get upset with the answer they receive, or like maybe the cards was just like, hey, okay, you asked about love, but what you really need to be focused on in money is money, but you just not focusing on that. That's also very important to focus on, because you spiritually consented to have your energy read, but your energy is actually needs to be on some other area of your life versus what you're actually thinking about. So spiritual consent is a really, really big deal. It should be more highlighted. It should be more focused. This also goes hand in hand with people who don't regularly practice prayer or practice communicating with the ancestors, meditation. When you are meditating, you are consenting your spirit to allow yourself to go to a higher plane. So it's different levels of will. It's your willpower at the end of the day, and you really need to pay attention. Collectively, we really need to, as a society, pay attention to what we are spiritually consenting of, same as what we're not necessarily in the spiritual realm consenting, but mainly like in the physical realm. Yes, we say yes and no to things all of the time. What do you want to eat? Do you want to go over here? What do you want to go on this? Whatever the case may be, we are always consenting to stuff. So you have to pay attention to how you're spiritually consenting, what you're calling in, how you're working with the energy, and really think about what it is that you want at the end of the day, and what it is that you really want in your life that's really going to change that. Because when working with, like, a lot of people do these spells and then they get upset because they don't get what they want, and it's just like, hey, you asked for this to come in, or you asked for this, but maybe you're not ready, maybe it's not the time, maybe you need to focus on something else. And it's just like, this is what you spiritually consented to, assistance. And the assistance that you got is like, hey, you need to work on this before you get to this, you're not there yet. So definitely contemplate on this. This message was something that has been coming up a lot. I've had to write a lot of emails and it's coming up in readings quite often for me, so I just wanted to touch on it in a more collective space. So definitely let me know in the comments if you have thought about this, or if this is something that comes up for you, or if you noticed this in your practice, in your day-to-day, and with other people as well, because I feel like it does come up, especially like if you read for other people and stuff like that. That happens all the time. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. I will see you guys in the next video, and I will try to definitely have more IGTV videos coming up for sure. But yeah, just make sure that you're subscribing. I'm like on a YouTube mentality. Just make sure that you're following my Instagram so you can stay tuned for more videos. Okay, so see you guys in the next one. Bye.